Hey everybody, what's up? What's up? Welcome back. Happy New Year, actually. It's hard to believe it's 2026 already, but we're back from the holiday season, tackling a whole new slew of sharks and a whole new slew of shark topics. So I figured it would be kind of fun to kick off the year with a special episode featuring Arctic sharks. So sharks that actually do live in the Arctic Ocean. And we'll kind of get into what that really means in terms of like what the geographical limits of the Arctic Ocean are, and more importantly, like what the ecology of the Arctic Ocean is, and the sharks that occupy that zone. So, what's up? I see Howard. I see Mingus. Welcome back. Hope you had a great holiday season. It's good to see you both. And I know I was away for a little while, so but it's really good to be back and to focus on kind of a fun wintry topic. Before we really dive in, kind of a funny, well, not funny, but interesting story. I watched Blue Water White Death for the first time last night, and I have mixed feelings about that documentary. It is a very famous shark documentary from 1971 with Valerie. Is it Valerie Taylor? It's Valerie Taylor. Ron Taylor and Valerie Taylor, I think. I almost said Val Kells. Val Kells is a famous marine life artist. But Val Taylor is a famous scuba diver, and Ron Taylor is her husband. So they both were key people on the documentary. So it was very interesting. It's very graphic. The '70s was just, there was less. The sensibilities are very different from today. So there's a lot of like not so pleasant scenes to see regarding the ocean. Oh yeah, in science documentary terms, that's old. Yes, so the one thing about Blue Water White Death, I will say, the footage is incredible. I was blown away, especially the white shark footage. They had amazing shots of oceanic white tips, a couple blue shark shots, but the white shark footage on that documentary was unbelievable. And kind of fun trivia is that after that documentary premiered, Steven Spielberg approached the filmmakers and they filmed the underwater sequences for Jaws. So they part of the underwater sequences that actually featured real sharks in Jaws were from the same team because of that documentary. So it's an interesting watch. I've been meaning to kind of watch it, and I would not recommend it if you're not a fan of like Seaspiracy. There we go, Seaspiracy. I was trying to remember the name of that documentary. If you're not a fan of Seaspiracy, like if you don't want to see graphic stuff, I don't really, because Seaspiracy has some graphic scenes. Or The Cove. The Cove is really graphic. I would not recommend Blue Water White Depth. However, if you want to fast forward, because it's available on YouTube, if you want to fast forward and see some of the shark footage, I will say the footage itself is phenomenal. It's very interesting. Howard saw it in theaters. Oh my gosh. That is. What did you think? So what was your impression when you saw it? Because I this is the first time I've ever seen it, and I can't imagine what it was like in the theater, especially since a lot of the filmmaking was, I mean, just novel. Like the underwater filmmaking of the white sharks. I was really nervous about the oceanic white tip scene where a lot of divers got out of the cage to swim with a bunch of oceanic white tips congregating beneath a sperm whale carcass. It's just, that's a really extremely dangerous dive situation. So that scene was really scary. The white shark scenes in the end were like incredible, but just it really showcased just the power of those animals. So part of the reason why I watched it, by the way, and this tangentially relates to Arctic sharks a little bit. Is that in winter right now we have white sharks off our coast, and I mean, actually, honestly, white sharks are here most of the year. Only in July is when they kind of disappear, just because it's a little too warm for them. They like to be in cooler water, but they're here most of the year, like nearly 365. So, oh, this is so cool. Min just got out of the cage. Well, damn, now I have no reason not to be interested in watching it. Howard, at the time, I liked it, but my appetite for shark material is insatiable. Hello, Roy, welcome back. Good to see you, too. Oh my gosh, Happy New Year. We were just talking about a documentary called Blue... I won't post in the chat because I don't know if I recommend it, but it's Blue Water White Death is a very old shark documentary. It's like a famous shark documentary on white sharks, but we were just kind of talking about that. Tangentially related, white sharks are in my part of the sea this time of year, and part of the reason they're here is that they're able to tolerate really cold water, and white sharks can get close to the Arctic. But they technically are not Arctic sharks. They don't really go into that ecoregion. It's a little bit too cold for them. But they do have some cousins that can enter the Arctic. So I think without... oh, yeah, Howard. I'm going to start that. It seems like Ron Taylor took a lot of chances with Valerie's safety. Yes, there's a lot of questionable decisions made in that movie. And I think some of it is like the filmmakers like try to be sensationalist. So... but yeah, it is an interesting watch at the very least. So, but I think what we'll do first is we're gonna dive into the Arctic zone in terms of like how do you define it? There's the Arctic Circle, which is like the famous. Hey, Quackers is here. Welcome back, Quackers. Good to see you. Happy New Year. Oh, this is fun. This is a good reunion. So, the Arctic, we have the Arctic Circle, which is like the traditional definition of the Arctic. So you have I should know this, the equator, the Tropic of Capricorn, the Arctic Circle. These are the circles around the Earth, Tropic of Cancer, Antarctic Circle. These are circles around the Earth that kind of roughly are crossing points as far as the angle of the sun, defining a tropical zone, a temperate zone, and an Arctic zone, or a polar zone. So kind of a polar zone is interesting where you have periods of intense non-stop sunlight in the summer, and then periods of intense darkness, like that vampire movie 30 Days a Night. I don't know why I remember watching that in college. It was a weird decision. But anyway, but it's interesting that there's intense periods of quiet and intense periods of darkness and intense periods of light. So typically the old adage is sharks don't live in the Arctic, but that's actually not entirely true. And it makes sense that's not true because there's a lot of deep water species, and we know that deep water habitats are very cold. And stably so. So I think without further ado, it'd be good to kind of take a look at, even though there's the Arctic Circle, Arctic conditions as far as the water temperature, as far as like what kind of makes a polar environment, it extends past the Arctic Circle a little bit. So hopefully we'll get to kind of see some of those definitions as we take a look at the ecoregion. So we will not read this whole thing, but we will take just a little tour of Arctic ecological processes. So this paper is talking about a specific part of the Arctic at first, but it touches like the entire region at some point. So we'll just kind of skim through this. But Central Arctic Ocean ecoregion mostly comprises high seas areas remote from any landmass, including deep basins and slopes to depths of approximately 500 meters. So that's actually relatively shallow as far as the ocean goes. So that's the twilight zone, but there's so many other deeper parts of the ocean in like the Pacific and the Atlantic. Like you get into midnight zone, abyssal zone, hadal zone. So the boundary of the ecoregion follows the outer slopes of the Eurasian side. We'll kind of skip this and just take a look at this map a little bit. So that description is talking about the Central Arctic, which is this like blue area. But there's more going on as far as the Arctic roughly is... It's roughly everything pictured in this map. There's a little bit more, I would say, like Arctic conditions in southern Greenland and northern Newfoundland. But most of, or all of Alaska, at least north of the I think the Aleutian Isles is Arctic. South, you get into more like temperate territory. So, but we'll just kind of key physical factors affecting hydrography of this ecoregion are the strong seasonal cycle, low temperatures, extensive permanent and seasonal ice cover, a large supply of fresh water from melting ice and rivers, and the input of heat and salt from adjacent oceans. The main inflowing marine water comes from the Atlantic Gateway via the Fram Strait and the St. Anna Trough, and the Pacific Gateway, Bering Strait. The okay, hold on. It's Monday. Hold on. Lomonosov Ridge maintains a boundary between Atlantic and Pacific water masses. The circulation is anticyclonic within the Eurasian Basin, and the transpolar drift from the northern border of the Russian Arctic Shelf sea runs towards the Fram Strait. The ecoregion receives about 10% of the world's freshwater discharge. The sea ice and river runoff causes strong stratification, which is strongest in the Eurasian Basin. So that's what's really interesting is if there's so much freshwater being poured into this area, when they say strong stratification, salt water is a lot more dense than freshwater. So salt water will sink to the bottom, and freshwater will kind of have this will just kind of stay at the surface. So you can have these two very different layers, and I think they call it what is it called? I think it's a halocline. Halocline is this boundary layer of salty water at the bottom and fresher water at the top. I believe that's correct. Because thermocline is temperature. I think it's a pycnocline for pressure. But anyway, I think it is a halocline. But anyway, what's interesting about those dynamics is that actually can have a huge effect on the distribution of life. In the Chesapeake Bay, as an example, because it's an estuary, that's a system where you see haloclines, where with deeper salt water and shallower freshwater mixing all the time. So you can be somewhere in the bay and you're fishing at the surface for maybe you'll get a bass or something. But if you were deeper, you might get an actual a ray, or like in some cases a shark, like a sand devil. So it's actually really cool that there's stratification going on. Let's see. Major part of suspended sediments discharged from these rivers is deposited in the seabed, forming sediment layers up to 1,000 meters thick. It's unbelievable. Now here's a better shot of the Arctic as far as the currents go. So this is actually really interesting. So the major air and ocean currents. So we have air coming in from the Bering Sea, air kind of coming past northern Greenland, Iceland, Scandinavia, and then air from central Eurasia. So kind of all concentrating in the center of the region. You have the Beaufort Gyre here as a current. The transpolar drift is a current that is flowing past Greenland. What's kind of cool is, this is actually really interesting to see, the water that moves from the transpolar drift going past Greenland loops back up and then loops south as a Labrador current. And this current, the Labrador current, actually flows down Canada and down the United States, and actually ends roughly where I am, as it's like a cold water barrier between the landmass and the Gulf Stream. So, which is actually really cool. So it's cool to see that the Labrador current originates in this Arctic area. And then this is a pretty interesting exchange with the North Atlantic current, it looks like this is kind of like a warm water current that dissipates into the Arctic as well. So really cool map showing how the water moves. So I'll shout out to estuaries. Oh, Howard, I just saw this Requiem of Sharks. I'm going to put that on my documentary list. And also, I'm just going to shout out to estuaries. I really appreciate that. Estuaries are super cool. They are one of my favorite, if not, well, it's one of my absolute favorite zones. So, let's see. Key signals. Climate change is the dominant and overarching driver in the ecoregion. Observed climate-related changes include decreases in sea ice extent and thickness, changes in salinity and freshwater content that affect water column stratification, the relative contributions mixing of North Atlantic and North Pacific water masses in the ecoregion, and sub-regional increases in seawater temperature. Um, this, receding sea ice has led to changes in both the range and abundance of species from primary producers to top predators. Examples include an increase of phytoplankton biomass, a reduction in diversity biomass of ice-associated algae, and the expansion of the feeding migration of young ring seals into the ecoregion. Interesting. So with that, with temperature and climate change, you could posit that more sharks might come into the area. So a great boundary species would be the white shark, because white sharks, they currently do live very, very close. Like you have white sharks in Newfoundland, but they're not quite currently getting into that Arctic zone just yet. But if the water continues to warm, that's something they're going to do more often, which is interesting. So, ice-dependent fish and marine mammals are experiencing increased competition with boreal species for habitat and food throughout the ecoregion. So boreal species would be like cold water species, like the white shark, maybe tuna. I think I would say tuna is kind of boreal. Maybe cod. So. The ecoregion has fewer human activities than other ecoregions and is a sink for contaminants and litter transported from global sources via ocean currents, rivers, and air. So that's actually really cool. I'm sure you're familiar with carbon sinks or other kinds of sinks, but these are areas that trap and sequester pollutants. So the Amazon rainforest is a carbon sink where it traps excess carbon in the trees. And that's a great way to kind of, and actually parts of the ocean are a carbon sink too, because there's a lot of green phytoplankton that actually sequesters carbon as well. But it's really cool to see that a low human impact area kind of has a pathway for nature to kind of take care of some things and sequester pollutants. So. Climate change has affected contaminant pathways and loading to the ecoregion and loading to the ecoregion adjacent seas. Future perspective of the sea ice loss is creating opportunities for the development of expansion of human activities in the ecoregion. Kind of interesting. So pressures. So historically, less human activity. Interesting map. So human activities. So global sources. Introducing contaminated compounds that affects food webs. It affects plankton, fish, marine mammals, and seabirds. Shipping, which has marine litter, affects marine mammals. Tourism and recreation, underwater noise, affects marine mammals. That's a big one. And then military operations, which, so it looks like there's these different sources, these human activities. They can create different pressures. So military operations can do introducing contaminated compounds, marine litter, or underwater noise. Shipping makes underwater noise. Same thing. Tourism recreation is the introduction of non-indigenous species, and you can see where that kind of affects things on the right. So for fish specifically, the two things that affect fish primarily, including sharks, are introduction of non-indigenous species and introducing contaminated compounds. And that's a big thing for sharks in particular because they accumulate, since they're apex predators, they accumulate a lot of contaminants in their body. What's interesting about that, Greenland sharks famously have very poisonous flesh, and I wonder if there's something related to that. Although I think it's the high urea content in Greenland sharks that contributes to that. So we won't read the rest of this, but I think this is like a really cool example of just like a little overview of Arctic processes. So in terms of like kind of how this ecoregion works. So oh hey. Minjas, I just saw this comment. I got to work with the Wells Estuarine Research Reserve several years back. Made me realize how insane estuaries are. That's so cool. Oh my gosh. I never worked at one, but there's an estuarine research reserve. I think it's Tascanass Creek in the York River. But there's like a famous estuary location And it's really cool how they highlight just the ecological processes of estuaries and just how complicated they are. It's just so cool. So um, let's see. The expanding of human activity in the North Pole feels worrying because it feels like it's one of the oldest safe havens, for lack of a better word, excluding whaling for marine wildlife. So, and the quackers, yeah, like guys, y'all can leave one place alone. It's not that hard. Yeah, agreed. And it's actually, there used to be this fantastic map. I really wish they still had it, and I think the website just shut down, which is really sad. But there was this fantastic map measuring population density of ecoregions. So, and it's really cool. It's like the further north you go, it's like the more that system can breathe. So where I live, the Virginia Marine ecoregion, it's kind of a high population density, and it makes sense. You have New York, you have Washington D.C., you have Baltimore, you have Philadelphia, and all these communities surrounding those major cities. It's those are megapolises on rivers that feed into the region. So very high human impact. When you take a step north to the Gulf of Maine, it's like many factors, a lot healthier, like a lot less human impact, a lot richer of a marine ecoregion. And then you take another step north to like Nova Scotia, like the Scotian Shelf. That's an even better, lower impact ecoregion. So it was a really cool map, and I really wish they still had it. I will share it if I ever find it again. But it was great to kind of see the world as far as population density goes. Some of the most high impact areas, understandably, are the Mediterranean, and it's interesting that coincidentally the Mediterranean has a lot of like huge shark conservation impacts. And then Howard, in reference to Greenland sharks, it has to be specially cured to be consumed. I think the native dish is escovite or something like that. So sometimes some people do hunt and eat Greenland sharks, but it is a very intricate process as far as like how to make sure that meat is clean. So a good reminder on. Thank you for sharing that, because it's a good reminder of how Greenland shark meat is incorporated into some diets. So let's see. This is actually really interesting. So talking about the deep Arctic, knowledge about the fish community in that ecoregion is virtually absent. Small gadoids, mainly polar cod and Arctic cod, are found in ice-covered areas within the ecoregion, and eel pouts have been observed associated with the seabed. An acoustic layer that may contain fish taxa has been recorded at mesopelagic depths in part of the region. And I'm kind of curious, marine mammals. During periods of year-round ice coverage, observation of marine mammals in the central Arctic Ocean ecoregion have been limited to very low numbers of ring seals and polar bears. Recent retreats of the sea ice have been accompanied by increased observations of several ice-dependent species, including polar bears, narwhals, ring seals, and hooded seals. Very few dedicated abundant surveys of marine mammals have been conducted in this area, and precise trend information therefore does not exist. Interesting. So, wait a minute. This is interesting. Gateways and shelf areas adjacent to the ecoregion are documented feeding areas for all 11 ice-dependent Arctic marine mammal species: walruses, bearded seals, ring seals, harp seals, hooded seals, ribbon seals, spotted seals, beluga whales, narwhals, bowhead whales, and polar bears. Other species like gray whales, humpback whales, fin whales, blue whales, minke whales, and killer whales are increasingly observed in the border areas of the ecoregion during summer. Interesting. All right. So, pretty cool, like, overview, kind of what the Arctic is. So I think with that, I spent enough time on the general ecoregion, so I think it's a good time to switch to Arctic sharks. So talking about which sharks actually do spend time in this place. So this one is a familiar face. This is a cousin of a great white. This is same family, Lambdae. This is the salmon shark, Lamna ditropus. So this is a Pacific species. There's also the porbeagle shark, Lamna nassus, an Atlantic species. Both can be found in Arctic waters. So there's two articles I want to read. This one's by Ocean Conservancy. Are there sharks in the Arctic? There are, and they're awesome. So here we go. This will have like a brief overview of each species, and then we're going to take a look at each species in more detail. So starting with the world famous spiny dogfish shark. So salmon shark cute scare. Oh my gosh. So love these comments. So spiny dogfish shark. Um, For eagle, my beloved. I love these comments. Oh my gosh. So it's really cool to see that the spiny dogfish shark is included in this list. And it makes sense. Dogfish actually. Let me see if I could. I hope I could kind of make this a little bit more. There we go. Okay, that's a little better. Dogfish are ecologically evolved to be deep water species. So the entire family Squalidae, which has the dogfish, they really spend more of their time in the deep, and the spiny dogfish is kind of an anomaly in that family. It's unusual in the sense that it spends time both in deep water and shallow water. So this is one of the most abundant sharks in the world. So we think that this is like a shark that is characteristic of shallow water, but it's also a deep water species. Long story short, it makes sense that a deep water species that can handle all that cold, or the cold of those depths, can handle cold water further north as well. This is a very famous New England species, and actually the most biodiverse shark, or not biodiverse, sorry, the most, what's the word? The highest concentration of biomass of sharks in the world is in the Grand Banks. There we go. I had to think about that for a second. The Grand Banks of Newfoundland, which is next to the Arctic region. So it kind of makes sense that some dogfish will go up to Arctic waters. I think I have... There he is. Let's see if we can get a map of dogfish. So there you go. So dogfish can actually be found in southern Greenland, which technically is part of the Arctic ecoregion. The northern coast of Labrador, right there. Sorry. Newfoundland and Labrador. Just kind of zooming in. There we go. So northern coast, Newfoundland and Labrador is Arctic. When you get into the Gulf of St. Lawrence, this is more temperate, but the northern coast is Arctic. The southern Greenland area is Arctic. Southern Iceland is temperate. Northern Scandinavia is Arctic, but this part of Scandinavia, like the central region, or most of the central region, is temperate. So you can see that the dogfish, the core of its range is really in the temperate part of the sea, but it can go to, or it sometimes spends time in Greenland, which is technically an Arctic area. So, or not technically, it is an Arctic area. So. Like their namesake, I'm just going to read the Ocean Conservancy article. Like their namesake suggests, the spiny dogfish has mildly venomous spines in front of both dorsal fins. Although some are solitary, others develop a habit of hunting in packs, similar to dogs throughout the Bering Sea. Now, interesting note about this article, they mentioned the Bering Sea, and that's in the Pacific. So they're actually referencing, and this is a common mistake. They're actually referencing Squalus sucklei, the Pacific spiny dogfish. So. Which was recently identified as a different species. So this is the Atlantic one, which still counts as an Arctic shark, but there's also the Pacific spiny dogfish, which, if it's in the northern side of the Bering Sea, then it's also an Arctic species. So the next one is the Pacific sleeper shark, Somniosus pacificus. We're just gonna catch up on the comments. Sharks love Canada. Oh, cool. Howard, Haida indigenous people revere the dogfish spirit. Roy, great question. Minja's probably pain. What does spiny dogfish venom actually feel like? This is a fantastic question. So, the venom has been described to be similar to sea raven venom. So a sea raven is kind of like a scorpion fish. It is I think it technically is a scorpion fish. It's a type of scorpion fish that lives in the Gulf of Maine, and it's described to be a throbbing pain, but not lethal. It's not something that would kill you. It's just that if you get stung by it, it's just kind of like this throbbing, aching pain, but nothing horrible. There's never been a death by a spiny dogfish. Fortunately, what's funny is spiny dogfish actually are in the international shark attack file because there have been some incidents with them just like pricking people with the spine, so that technically counts as a shark incident, um, but it's a harmless species, pretty much. So. But we've got the Pacific sleeper shark. So this is a cousin of the Greenland shark. So we did cover Pacific sleepers on this channel. So really cool and enormous deep water species. So let's see if we can get Pacific sleepers distribution here. Now this is awesome. Look at this. Pacific sleeper shark absolutely is in the Arctic. Yeah, like this is a shark absolutely enters the Arctic zone and like decidedly so. Just having more than most of the range. That's like really believable. So. And let's see if we get some more. That one's the Greenland shark. Let's see if we can get more images of the Pacific sleeper. So here we go. So this is from Elasma Diver. A couple more images of the Pacific sleeper shark, also known as the mud shark. These are actually really cool shots. Let me see if I can get a close up. Because like this one is not. It's a cousin of the Greenland shark, but it's not as well known as the Greenland shark. So. And it looks a little bit different too. It's like a little bit more spherical. That's actually a really great shot where sleeper sharks are related to dogfish. They're in the same order, but they're much larger. And it's actually really cool where you can see from this perspective that there's kind of like a superficial resemblance to other dogfish shark, just in terms of like how everything is, like how the head is shaped. This is a great shot of the ampullae lorenzini, the electrosensing organs that sharks have to detect electromagnetic fields. You can actually see them pretty clearly on this Pacific sleeper's snout. So similar to the Greenland shark, Pacific sleeper shark has a copepod, so a parasite on its eyeball, which is really gross. Scientists don't 100% know why that happens, but there's a theory that it's beneficial to the shark in a sense that it may attract prey closer to the mouth. It's kind of cool from this angle. You can see that the Pacific sleeper's fins are a little bit smaller. Oh wow, kind of a creepy image of a Pacific sleeper. What's cool about these sharks, similar to dogfish, their teeth are in this like kind of straight line where they're all relatively equal height and interlocking, so it's a little bit like a chainsaw. So when they bite, they just wriggle their prey item and can tear off huge chunks of prey. So very formidable set of jaws for this species. So, oh, welcome! We got a new guest on the stream. Welcome to the live stream. So glad to have you here. And it's funny because YouTube's recently changed their. There's something going on with. I can't see your username, but welcome. Because it's showing up as like the email name, so I won't read it out loud for privacy. But I'm glad you're here, and sorry about the fuzziness. My mic is it's a little bit. I should get a new mic, honestly. So, but Minjus spherical is the perfect way to distinguish it. Roy, patience of having to cope with a copepod. Oh my gosh. Minjus is cute in a senior age pit bull way. That's a great way to describe it. What's funny is my wife and I. Oh, hi, Claire Burr. Welcome. Glad to have you here, and welcome to the channel. If you have any shark questions, please leave them in the chat. This is a really cool channel where I mean, and I say this with everybody on it. I'm not saying like I'm cool. I'm saying like the whole community is really cool, where everybody's very passionate about sharks and just here to. Just celebrate them. And we talk about every kind of species, so not just the famous ones or the charismatic ones. We do cover them, but we cover also like more obscure species and different topics. So anything you want to know, let us know. And welcome to the channel. So, but let's see if there's new notes on Pacific Sleeper. The Pacific sleeper shark can be found in waters across the planet, though they have preference for the Bering Sea floor. They're slow-moving but elegant swimmers that can easily sneak up and catch prey using an interesting cutting and suction feeding process. Interesting. So someone said it in the chat. It's a shame it's just a drawing. So I promise we'll look at porbeagle images, but the porbeagle shark is an Arctic shark. So and understandably so. So this is a cousin of white sharks and salmon sharks. It is a kind of lamnid or mackerel shark that is able to raise its body temperature higher than the water around it. So what's really cool about the lamnids is that they have this kind of like counter-current exchange system that these rete mirabili or rete mirabilis, where as they swim and as they're building up speed, they're heating up their muscles and they're kind of conserving the energy and making their bodies actually warmer and warmer. And it makes them a lot more active and efficient than sharks that don't have this feature. Like sharks that, like if a bull shark was trying to hunt a seal in South Africa, it's going to have a hard time to do it because its body's going to get too cold and it's going to get slower and just less active. But a white shark has this ability in a porbeagle. Well, porbeagles don't go after seals, but like white sharks have this ability and they can heat up their body temperature to such a degree that they can perform in even extremely cold water and catch their prey with such like powerful speed. So similarly, porbeagles do this when they hunt for fish. So they can heat up their body temperature as they look for fish in a water column in cold seas, including the Arctic seas. So we'll take a look at porbeagle images. So there we go. So that's actually a really cute shot of a porbeagle. So looks a lot like a white shark, but there's a couple of key differences. The big one being the dorsal fin. It's pretty large and it's kind of paddle shaped. It's a little bit more excuse me, it's a little bit more rounded at the apex. The pectoral fins are also rounded as well, and the pectoral fins proportionally a little bit larger than the to the body relative to the body size. The eyes are quite a bit bigger too. They're proportionally larger than a white shark's eyes. White sharks have very small eyes, but porbeagles have pretty large ones. Other than that, the snout looks almost identical. The head looks almost identical. It has huge gill slits, characteristic of lamniforms. Beautiful crescent-shaped tail, indicative of this shark going at high speeds and chasing after prey at really, really high speeds. We'll take a look at some larger images. These are such cool sharks because again they look like they look like their bigger cousins like the white sharks, but they're like pocket-sized great whites. So because they're tight. Thank you. Yeah. Oh, that's cool. Right, that's actually a really cool observation. Porbeagles and salmon sharks kind of remind me of bottlenose dolphins for some reason. I don't know why. There is a similarity in the sense that bottlenose dolphins are, amazing predators, and they're kind of compact whales if you kind of think about it, where like I would say like a bottlenose dolphin is analogous to a killer whale or maybe a pilot whale, maybe a false killer whale. Just like a porbeagle is analogous to a white shark, where white sharks are these huge, massive predators. Orca whales are these huge, massive predators, but there's kind of like a more compact version in the form of a bottlenose dolphin or a porbeagle or salmon shark. So, yeah. But thank you. I just saw this comment, Claire. Thank you for the time bar comment. So what's really cool is like the time bar is documenting fossil periods that commonly come up when we talk about fossil sharks. So sharks emerge in the Devonian, and actually I should update it because they technically emerged in the Silurian era or period, and then but these are kind of the more common ones. So it's been really fun to have them as a reference. And then also I have the maps for guests who are joining in from different countries. They are they're welcome to share what country that they are commenting in from, and I add the flag to the map. So So we currently have United States, Canada, Indonesia, Netherlands, Russia, India, and Norway. So as far as viewers who have hopped on, so. But Roy would love this. Basically, big cookie cutter as referencing the Pacific sleeper shark. Howard, love this. Gotta love nature. It's so cool. Just like I love just those like you think you know everything and then you just like see something like a poor beagle being able to like raise its body temperature. It's like wow, this is amazing. So I like this Comet Mingus. It looks like and Howard has a face like a big eye thresher because the eyes are really big. And then it kind of looks like more like a rotund thresher. I really like this actually. Hey Claire, I help with dinosaur paleontology centric science outreach streamer on the Purple app. Love a good time scale. That is so cool. I have to check that out. That is so cool. What's kind of funny is like if I wasn't a shark person, I would either have gone into herpetology like reptiles or paleontology. It's just like nothing beats dinosaurs, and I'm huge Jurassic Park fan, but also like just any kind of fossil specials, just like so cool. So like fossil documentaries. There's a great prehistoric shark documentary on YouTube that it's technically not supposed to be there because it's technically a pirated thing, but no one's caught it yet. So yeah, but oh yes, please, yeah, thank you. Could drop a name if you like. Should be easy to find. Thank you. Yes. Oh, Howard. Yes. So Howard is a master fossil hunter, in the sense like he, especially with the Hemipristis, like the snaggletooth sharks. So he is. It actually, honestly, Howard, I work a lot with modern sharks, but like your passion for prehistoric sharks has really educated me, and like I've learned a lot from you, and just. I just really appreciate a lot of like the science and like the just the story of sharks. I just never ever knew it in detail until like just with the channel and just being able to kind of like talk. It's so cool. So yeah, Howard is like is one of our resident fossil experts. So super cool. So yeah, this is super fun. I really enjoy our community, guys. This is super fun. So it's it's a fully legal copy of miscellaneous prehistoric shark documentary that you have no affiliation with. So please give it. What is it called? I'll just like type it out in the chat if I can find it. It should be easy to find because I know the thumbnail. It's prehistoric sharks. It's like one of those really good old fashioned. It's literally just called prehistoric sharks. Okay, here we go. It's a good old fashioned 90s, 2000s shark documentary. Prehistoric sharks. Heath Sharkey. Those words I just typed have nothing to do with anything, and I'm not affiliated with piracy in any way. It is not okay. It is not legal. I hope you enjoy shark documentaries, and that's it. But no, it's actually a really good documentary. It's a fantastic documentary, and just the 90s and the 2000s. I don't know what it was, but I just kind of feel like it could be nostalgia. It could be objectively better production as far as just these awesome, exciting, very serious, methodical documentaries on wildlife. So really cool shot of a poor beagle taking a look at something I'm assuming is a cameraman, but also a really good shot of its teeth. You could tell by the teeth that this is a fish eater. So the teeth are much longer and more narrow. And that's indicative of grasping and holding on to slippery prey like fish or squid. So this is a safe species to be around. If the teeth were broad and triangular, that's when it's a species that probably goes after marine mammals, and that's a species that is much more dangerous. But poor beagle teeth, you can see that they're pretty narrow looking. They almost look like mako shark teeth. So yeah, fairly safe to be around. That's a really, really good shot of a porbeagle, by the way. So these are Atlantic sharks. The salmon shark is the Pacific equivalent, but porbeagles live in the Atlantic. So we can take a look at where their distribution is. Yeah, so this is a super cold water species. This guy can go past Newfoundland and Labrador, the east coast of Greenland, southeast coast of Greenland, northern Iceland, which is Arctic. So southern Iceland is temperate, but northern Iceland is definitely Arctic. So and then northern Scandinavia is also Arctic. So this is a shark that absolutely pokes its head into the Arctic zone. So yeah. So, oh, that's an anagram for the name of the stream. It has nothing to do with cool documentary. Oh, sorry, it took me a minute. Which also true. My just nostalgia. Mid '90s documentaries are so good. Yes, 100%. Oh, Roy, I love this. Must be so cool to encounter during snorkeling or diving. I would love to see a porbeagle. I've seen. So I've not. I like the closest I've been to a laminate shark was the North Carolina Aquarium in Roanoke Island has a shark tank that you can dive. So if you have the open water license, you could dive it. So close I've been has been a sand tiger shark, which is really huge and really creepy looking, but like very very safe to be around. And I think being with a porbeagle is similar to that. So really cool shot of the eye up close. Where porbeagles like look really intimidating, but they really, and that's actually a great shot of the teeth. They're a lot more narrow. They look intimidating, but they're like pocket great whites. They're really really cute, cool little sharks. So yeah. A great shot of what makes a shark different. I mean, it just, it looks like a great white at first glance, but again, that dorsal fin is a lot larger. It's a lot more rounded. The pectoral fin's also rounded. So yeah, just very, very different looking. Let's see. So let's see if there's any new facts. Porbeagles can regulate their internal body temperature quickly, enabling them to adapt to a wide range of climates, particularly the icy waters of North Atlantic. Yep. And now, speaking of porbeagles, we're going to definitely take a look at its cousin, the salmon shark. So salmon sharks are cool in that they distinctively have like a darker color palette. Like porbeagles have this like silvery color. Salmon sharks have kind of like a rougher, speckly, kind of like a onyx color, like a granite color. There's something about them is a little bit darker, and it's really cool. So let's see if we could take a look at salmon shark. So that's a great shot of a salmon shark. It's kind of funny. The head looks a bit rounder as well. The snout looks a lot shorter too. So. Love these comments. What else can we see for salmon sharks? Here we go. I'm gonna skip ahead to. There's actually a lot of cool images. So also a rounded dorsal fin, similar to a porbeagle. That's a great shot, by the way. So very strong tail. Just look at kind of a fun fact is that there's a couple features on a shark that help you guess, like physical features. Like if you met a shark or saw a shark drawing or saw just a photograph of a shark and you have no idea what it is, you can actually still sleuth out what it does based on how it looks. So the tail. If the upper lobe of the caudal fin is the same size as the lower lobe, or if the more that these two lobes are the same size and the same shape, the faster this shark is. This shark can build up a lot of power and swim super quickly. If the upper lobe is really long and the lower lobe is very small, then that's more of a deep water bottom-dwelling shark that's pretty slow. Similarly, if the first dorsal fin is big, but the second dorsal fin is tiny, that's also a sign that this is a fast animal. If the two dorsal fins are similar in size, then that's going to be a slower shark. And then finally, kind of the teeth. Teeth are a really good indicator of diet. So they're evolved to handle specific kind of prey. So we'll probably get another look at salmon shark teeth in a little bit, like a closer look. But this is a great shot. This beautiful speckly color palette here. But salmon shark teeth, if they are, or sorry, shark teeth, if they are broad and triangular, marine mammal hunter. If they're long and narrow, probably a fish or a squid hunter. If they're flat, they're probably a shellfish eater. So, you know. Ooh, question. I wonder if salmon sharks are any faster than makos. So that's a great question. And that would be really cool to experiment with. I think makos are the fastest, and I forget how they measure that, but I do think that mako sharks. I thought there was a study that kind of confirmed that they're the fastest, but I'm not 100% sure. I know that I think it's Dan Abel is the author of Shark Biology and Conservation, as the 2020 book. He co-authored it with I really should know the other person's name. It's really embarrassing, but he co-authored it, and in that book, they argued that there's no such thing as a perfect shark, because every shark that is existing today is technically perfect because it's technically the most fit for its environment. If it's alive today, then it's handling the world's changes well. However, given so, if they still had to pick like the quote unquote perfect shark and the perfect predator, they both agree that the mako shark is their top pick. Just the speed, the efficiency, the power. Just so much about mako sharks are just really kind of mind blowing as far as like how they can do so much with such little expenditure of energy. So, but any kind of lamnid or mackerel shark is just a powerhouse of energy. So it's just really cool to see that in the shark's actual physical features. You can actually see near the tail, you see that line that's actually pretty prominent. That is the caudal keel, which helps slice through the water, and it helps build up additional momentum and reduce drag for the shark. So it's just like a really... Any sharks that have like a strong caudal keel like this is indicative of a really... It's like a fighter jet. It's just indicative of a really fast animal. So, great shot of the salmon shark's mouth, and you can still see small needly teeth. So again, this is a fish eater. So really cute. And I guess you could say this is kind of like a pit bull shark. Like this one especially, where it's just really chonky, but like just kind of cute in a similar way. So. Oh, you cute. And then a nice little view from the top of a salmon shark. Kind of like a round conical head tapering into a point. Great view of the caudal keel. Just super sharp. So, like literally really, really sharp. So yeah, really cool animal. We'll go back to the salmon shark notes. I think there was... Here we go. Salmon sharks are a long-lived, slow-growing species with a low reproductive rate. Most sharks are like that, causing them to be susceptible to overexploitation. Although they're known to feast on a plethora of salmon in Alaska, salmon sharks will munch on whatever fish they may come their way. As far as the salmon shark's range, this one's actually kind of interesting, where it technically is in the Arctic because of the Bering Sea, where if you're north of the Aleutian Islands here, it's ecologically an Arctic system, and like getting so close to the Siberian Sea too. Even though it may not be crossing the Arctic Circle, it's ecologically cold enough, and the wildlife is similar enough to the Arctic basin that this technically would be an Arctic species, since it is in the Bering Sea. This region, southern Alaska and Canadian region, this is still temperate, but north of the Aleutian Islands, this is Arctic. So, ecologically speaking, it's Arctic. So. The famous Greenland shark, this is probably, if anyone had to guess what a polar shark is, they would pick this one, and rightfully so. This is the famous, hard to reach, or like formerly hard to reach shark species that it wasn't photographed until I want to say it was the 90s. Was the first time it was ever filmed. Famous cousin of the Pacific sleeper shark. What's kind of cool is technically we have Greenland sharks off our coast in very deep water. So when they actually are a wide ranging species that if the temperature is kind of more in the temperate range, they like to be in the deep. But if it's getting really really cold, they'll come up to the surface. So which is pretty interesting. So. Oh, interesting. Mingus. I wonder if the range is cut off there due to the land being connected during the Ice Age. Interesting comment. Huh. We'll take a look at the salmon sharks distribution. That's a really interesting comment. Potentially, because it's still. I'm not as familiar with this area, but there still probably is an underwater. And actually, we could take a look at. I wonder if we could do this without destroying my bandwidth. Bathymetric data viewer. Here we go. I apologize if I start to cut out and get kind of fuzzy. And I'll post this in the chat. This is a really cool NOAA map featuring bathymetry, so kind of like the geography of the seafloor. So I want to take a look at what this region is between these 2 points and kind of how shallow it is. And I think there's a way to take a more detailed look at this. Let's see. I know there's a way to do this. DM footprints. No, DM color shaded relief. There we go. That's a lot better. So, let's see. So, overall, it is a very shallow area between these 2 points. Only 50 meters. That's actually really, really shallow when you think about the ocean. So, but there doesn't seem to be. I mean, it could be a temperature barrier where this is very shallow water, and that because it's very shallow, it might be more quick to get extremely cold than deeper water, but I'm not 100% sure why the salmon shark's distribution stops right here. But that was a really cool question, Mingus. Also, I'm going to post this in the chat if anybody wants to use this. This is a really cool website to play around with by NOAA, the National Oceanographic and Atmospheric Administration of the United States. It's a really cool program to use, and I like just looking around. The bathymetric map. Sometimes they'll have shaded relief imagery just like this. So, and just for fun, we can actually take a look at an underwater barrier that does affect distribution of animals. So, so on the east coast of the United States, this area right here, this is Georges Bank, and what's kind of cool is that the water south of Georges Bank, like this area here, this is the Virginia Marine ecoregion, and it's kind of like cool water. It's technically cold water, but this bank kind of creates a barrier that blocks some species from moving further north, because further north is the Gulf of Maine and Bay of Fundy, and this is like really cold water. Like this is really like tough, like New England, like tuna, swordfish, white sharks, seals, whales. Like this is a really like truly cold environment, and this physical feature underwater, Georges Bank, is actually a delineator between the two ecoregions. So this is the physical feature that separates the Gulf of Maine and Bay of Fundy from the Virginia Marine ecoregion south of here. So, and I point that out because it may not look remarkable on the map, but changes in like depth can affect water currents, can affect temperature, and ultimately can affect distribution. So, really, really cool observation, Minjas, on the salmon sharks range kind of cutting off here. Pretty interesting in terms of like what might be causing that. So, Howard, I have a newspaper article where 2 French-Canadian women caught a Greenland shark while ice fishing in the St. Lawrence Seaway. Now that is really cool. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, the St. Lawrence Seaway is an estuary, right? So I'm curious like what the salinity is in that area. That would be really cool if it was like not true like salt water. That's so cool. Oh my gosh. Because the St. Lawrence Seaway connects to the St. Lawrence River, which connects to the Great Lakes, I think, if I'm not mistaken. So that's actually really cool that a Greenland shark was caught in that area. So, since the Greenland shark must hunt for their next meal beneath the thick ice in North Atlantic and Arctic waters, their searches are often conducted in practically complete darkness. Many of these massive creatures, which can have a lifespan to up to 400 years, and this is true, this is not a weird exaggeration, these are extremely old sharks, are used to this lifestyle, however, with parasites like copepods latching onto their eyes, causing blindness. Besides these sharks, there's an abundance of other wildlife that thrive in Arctic waters. Oh, so this is the end of the article. I do want to check out the Greenland shark's range. Should be here. Oh man, so this is like the true superlative Arctic shark. So we've had other sharks kind of poking in to the Arctic region, but like the Greenland shark takes the cake where it really truly dominates this area. I mean, we've not seen a shark getting this far north and actually touching the Arctic Circle and actually getting close to the pole. So it's amazing that the Greenland shark is arguably, we're talking about Arctic sharks, but this might be arguably the only polar shark. We'll take a look at some photos of Greenland sharks. So, like the Pacific sleeper, it is a cousin to dogfish, but these guys get to be enormous and are kind of, I don't want to say they're dangerous, but they are, if you see one in the wild, it would be a little freaky, just because these sharks are known to ingest seals. They have a very formidable set of teeth. This situation with the diver next to it is a little freaky, but really amazing shot. They seem quite lethargic, but they do. I believe Greenland sharks have been known to have like horses in their stomach, or no, reindeer. They eat reindeer. That's what it is. They've had reindeer in their stomachs. They've had seals in their stomachs. I think small whales in their stomachs. So it's kind of in its own right, it is a formidable shark. So. And they get to be huge too. So let's see if this website has their size. Habitat. Vulnerable size. Yikes, so 6 meters. Maximum length possibly 6 meters. So that's about the size of a great white. So for comparison, that's about 20 feet long. So Greenland sharks, no joke, that's a really, really massive shark. So polar bear, thank you, Howard. I forgot that they actually go after that. So seemingly lives around maybe Greenland. Oh yeah, I love this comment. Ingest seals somehow sounds way scarier than eating seals. Yeah, I was reading. There's a public data set on shark attack records, and I was reading white shark records this weekend, and a lot of the scarier documents are just when they say like ingested or eaten or just like that's worse than fatal. It's just something about that description is like really freaky. So a Greenland shark named Elmer Fudd would be fantastic. Oh my goodness. What's kind of fun, by the way, is that there's a shark that's even larger than this that lives in the Arctic. And we see a picture of it right here. This is, of course, the basking shark, Cedarinis maximus. So the gentle giant that is the second largest shark in the world, and truly enormous. About, let's see, average size is 8 meters, so that is 3.3, about 26 feet, but they get to be quite a lot bigger too. So let's see if we could get some nice basking shark photo. Actually, firstly, let's check out the basking shark's distribution to confirm. So this shark does poke its head into the Arctic. It's technically an Arctic shark because it is in northern Iceland. It is northern Newfoundland, Labrador. If it's on the north side, that technically is Arctic waters. And then finally in Scandinavia, you can see that it's actually quite a bit north of the coast. So really the Arctic region kind of begins ecologically right next to the coast of northern Scandinavia. But the fact that basking sharks can be found even further north than that is indicative of, yep, this is technically an Arctic species that is tolerant of very cold water. What's interesting too is basking sharks don't just spend their time at the surface. They're famous for being at the surface, but they also spend a lot of time at depth too. So in the temperate winter, so like right now, this time of year, a lot of basking sharks actually do like to be in deep water where they allegedly shed their gill rakers and they regrow. These sharks have these unique features called gill rakers that are analogous to whale. What do you call it? I should know this. Whale. I can't believe I'm not remembering this. Baleen, right? The baleen. Basic marine science check. Hold on. Baleen. That's baleen, right? Yes, baleen. Okay, there we go. Baleen. Right. Okay. Baleen. Thank you. I had to think about it for a second. So, basket sharks have gill rakers that are analogous to baleen, and baleen are the long, thin strands of what almost look like hair, but these are used to sieve out plankton from the water column. So it's part of why basket sharks get to be an enormous size, and it's the same reason why whales get to be an enormous size. They're able to hunt this extremely energy-rich prey item in the form of plankton. So let's see. So we have to, of course, see some great shots of basket sharks. Would love to peruse. Let's see. Quality basket shark images. I don't know why. Sorry, this angling is a little weird. Okay, there we go. But it's still a little off. I just saw this comment, Mingus. Well, damn, now I'm learning whales shed something from their bodies, and so do sharks. Yep, so actually, it was kind of, this is a little gross, but, so all sharks shed their teeth, and they typically do it, periodically, or not periodically, but they typically do it on a rolling basis, where, sorry, I'm trying to get a good shot of a basket shark. Oh no, you're good, Mingus, because there's an interesting thing that happens with some species. So some species shed their teeth just periodically, or most species shed their teeth periodically, but some species, like the basket shark, have the gill rakers which they shed, and some species ingest their teeth. So kitefin sharks infamously ingest their teeth. So their teeth function as like a single row. And when they're done using them, or if they need to replace them, they'll actually swallow them, and then grow new ones, which is really creepy. But that's how kitefin sharks roll. Oh, this is a great look at this shot of a basking shark. So, oh, this is cool, Claire. Basically, all tetrapods shed teeth all their lives. As mammals, we tend to think of having two sets of teeth as the norm, but in everything with teeth but mammals, the teeth just keep coming. That's really cool, especially when you think of like reptiles and amphibians, because I'm definitely used to the mammal mindset of like, oh, I lost a tooth, I'm not getting it back. So That's a great point, Claire. In terms of it's not quite the same for reptiles and amphibians that they can actually regrow their teeth. So that's super super cool. Also, I love this shot of this basket shark in this like really cool, beautiful icy blue water. So what's fun, by the way, is that you know if you compare this shark with the Greenland shark and the Pacific sleeper, you can kind of see how both species. It's not really much of a stretch to imagine both species living in deep water, just based on how they physically look. Like they're big, they kind of have this like blotchy brown color that also has like a texture. It's a little hard to describe, but there's just something about the skin on basking sharks just looks a little bit like if you told me this was a deep water shark, I would believe that. And then if I didn't know firsthand what the shark was, compare that to the poor beagle. Poor beagle is very shiny, very shimmery, has an iridescence. That's what I'm looking for. Like poor beagles have iridescence, and this is a shark that loves to be in the sunlit zone. Basket sharks love to be in the sunlit zone too, but they do make migrations into deep water and extremely deep water. They could actually be in the midnight zone for periods of time, which is similar to the that's a Pacific sleeper shark, but that's still same point. Sleeper sharks are deep water species, so I don't know. It's just kind of interesting to think about. I don't know if that's kind of me looking into how it like the color palette too much, or if there's something going on there. So, fun fact about basket sharks that I don't basket sharks need lotion. What's so funny, Roy, is I was about to say something that is actually close to that. Basket sharks actually secrete a slime or like an ooze or a mucus on their skin. It's like this gray kind of slime thing, and I think the prevailing theory is it's a deterrent for lampreys. So lampreys are a parasitic fish that latch on to any kind of animal, especially large animals, and they're kind of like vampire fish. They're like blood sucking parasitic fish, and the basket shark has this weird little slime or mucus on it that might be a way to help kind of deter the lampreys from sticking, but I'm not 100% sure. So. But really cool though. And actually, you know what? Let's look this up. Basking shark slime. That sounds like a really bad search term, but I don't want to see. There we go. Basket shark Scotland, which is the one of the most famous, if not the most famous, basket shark conservation group. We accept all the cookies. Learn about basket shark slime with Professor Les Noble. So, there you go. Alright, so this is like a podcast transcript, so we're just gonna not read the whole thing, but I'm just gonna keyword slime. Okay. Shane knows as we have been collecting shark slime for his research, and has been uncovered some exciting development in our knowledge on basking sharks. Slime. It's slime time. Here we go. One shark was being very tricky as tail moved across Simon's rib and left this slime across the front of the hole, which he collected. Let's see. One of my PhD students worked very hard, or Lily Leiber, now at Queen's University Belfast, worked very hard to collect some of the first slime samples from these sharks. We found that groups of sharks together actually made up closely related individuals. Individuals are together most closely related to each other than they are to other groups. Let's see. Oh. This leads us to all sorts of questions. Are they led by older family members, such as a matriarch, which knows the routes and leads migrations? The males in these pods are less closely related to females, which makes the matriarch theory most likely. Interesting. I will say, I don't know. I'm gonna kind of like counter that a little bit, just because there's an idea of, do basket sharks consciously know where they're going, or do basket sharks congregate instinctively on areas that are rich in plankton? So, because the idea of a matriarch implies that there's more of like a social relationship going on, and it sharks get really tricky as far as like social science, like as far as like the social dynamics between them, because many sharks operate on kind of like this more, I like to describe it as kind of like a pure instinctive level, with a lot of exceptions. White sharks are a great exception. White sharks actually are exhibit a lot of different behaviors, and have been argued to be the most intelligent of sharks, or some of the most intelligent sharks. Hammerheads, specifically bonnetheads, do exhibit social behaviors. A lot of sharks do exhibit social behaviors, but the idea of a shark matriarch, it sounds so much like a whale thing, because whales have matriarchs, but whales are highly intelligent. That I don't really know if that's applicable to a basket shark. The other thing too is that basket sharks have been described to have the proportionally smallest brains of sharks, and the idea is that because their prey item is plankton, it's not a prey item that requires a lot of like calculus as a seal does. Like white sharks are like white sharks have been described to have the largest brains proportional to sharks, because they have to hunt for a very complicated prey item that spends half its time on the surface, half its time in the water, is extremely agile. Like a white shark has to kind of, and white sharks are the only sharks that are known to spy hop, where they poke, or one of the very few sharks that is known to spy hop, where they poke their heads out of the water to potentially look for prey items. So there's a lot of complex things going on with white sharks, and the theory is it's because they have complex prey where they had to evolve complexity. Whereas basket sharks, they have very simple prey, which is plankton just floating in the water, that its presence is dictated by ocean currents and the sun. So with that, basket sharks are described to be, like proportionally smaller brains, and like maybe a little bit more zen is the better way to describe it. And so with that, I don't know if you could say there's a matriarch of this school of basket sharks. I don't know. I mean, there could be, and I think that'd be really cool. But I'm not 100% sure. But it's an interesting theory. I just wanted to kind of test that hypothesis a little bit. So. Slime. Here we go. We have bacterial samples from slime 2. We noticed a different change in pattern in the last couple of years. Getting more slime samples helps us better understand the population, how they're used in the oceans. Oh, there's vials of basket shark slime. Interesting. So I guess the slime is like based on what is comprising the slime, they're kind of able to verify where the sharks have been and where they're going, and changes. But I don't know. There's more. I think there's more to the slime than this article. Let me see. Hold on. I know I read about this somewhere. Genetic slime sampling. New insights from slime samples. Let's see. Okay. Let's see. New method for identifying individual sharks by extracting their genetic sequence from the slimy mucus that they secrete onto their abrasive skin. Since that date, the simple method, which entails using a cotton pad to rub the skin, has been adopted by other active basking shark research groups in Scotland, England, and the Isle of Man. The primary result from this collaborative and coordinated effort was recently published in scientific reports. The findings confirm the findings from other visual tag, photo ID, and satellite transmitter-based tracking studies that have shown basket sharks regularly moving between surface hotspots in the Northeast Atlantic throughout the summer season and interannually. The results also confirm the connectivity between Northeast Atlantic hotspots, indicate that the Irish Sea is an important movement corridor for the species, with an estimated population of 380 sharks. This is one of the first population estimates for a discrete geographical area of the Northeast Atlantic, and a big step in establishing the international importance of such areas for the species. More controversially, the paper also identifies genetic structuring in the Northeast Atlantic population, indicating that sharks encountered together at surface hotspots are more related than previously thought, and that a distinct group of early season migratory sharks may exist off the southwest coast of Ireland. Interesting. Okay, so slime has knowledge. There's knowledge. There's truth in slime. So interesting. But let's see. So I think the basking shark was the one other Arctic shark. There's a different article by the Florida Museum of Natural History. Let's see. As the year comes to a close, or rather we're beginning our year, winter begins to cool in the northern hemisphere and we enter the holiday season. Hashtag Fishmas. Yeah, we're already here. Even here in Florida, the air has turned cold, as evidenced by the iguanas falling out of trees. In honor of the season, we wanted to highlight the sharks that have mastered the cold, particularly those that inhabit the Arctic. As you may know, sharks are fish, and fish are normally cold-blooded. In other words, sharks are ectotherms, so their body temperature is dependent on the water around them. Ectothermic animals typically seek out warmer places to heat their bodies. If you've ever seen a lizard or a snake sitting in the sun for a while, they are basking. They use the sun's heat to warm up their body for the day. We are warm-blooded mammals, endotherms, and are not dependent on a heat source because our bodies produce their own heat. So if sharks are ectothermic, how could they survive in such a place, in a place such as cold as the Arctic? While most shark species are cold-blooded ectotherms, but there are also a handful of specialists that have broken the evolutionary mold. So they mean the lamnids, like the porbeagle, the salmon shark, and the white shark, and the makos. Some of these Arctic sharks have evolved complex chemical reactions that protect them from the cold. Other sharks have behaviorally adapted to survive. Endothermic sharks heat their bodies with vascular countercurrent heat exchange. This works by using the heat generated from the active swimming muscles and the shark's metabolism to warm their body's core and major organs. I don't think basking sharks have endothermy. I think it's just the lamnids, but we'll see. Deoxygenated blood flowing through the veins is heated by the active muscles used for swimming. Located next to veins are the arteries that bring cold, oxygenated blood from the gills, which are exposed to the cold water to the muscles and the organs. The veins' heat is transferred to the arteries, allowing the shark to live comfortably in cold environments. The countercurrent heat exchange is a shared trait in the lambda-form sharks, which includes the white shark. Though this species has only been seen in the outermost edges of the Arctic Ocean, other sharks in this order are champions of cold. The basking shark is the second largest shark in the world. This giant filter feeds on tiny plankton and ventures in the Arctic to feed on krill schools, which are tiny crustaceans, though they only generate enough heat to be a couple degrees warmer than the surrounding water. Porbeagles, on the other hand, can raise their body temperature 12 to 18 degrees excuse me, above the surrounding water temperature. These sharks are fast swimmers and can grow to a maximum total length of 12 feet and a maximum weight of over 500 pounds. It's only been 2 unprovoked bites on humans. The king of the endothermic sharks is salmon shark. The internal body temperatures of salmon sharks have recorded to reach up to 60 degrees greater than the sea surface temperature. Thank you. I'm sorry, I don't know why I'm sneezing so much today. I'm not sick or anything. I'm just, I don't know if it's that time of year though. But forget hot cocoa and fire. I'm snuggling a salmon shark. Oh my gosh. Love that quote. Salmon sharks are generally believed to be one of the principal predators of Pacific salmon, but some studies suggest that this may be true for specific populations of salmon sharks. In the Aleutian Islands of the Gulf of Alaska, salmon shark abundance corresponds to catch rates in salmon, and the migration patterns of predator and prey appear to be linked. However, in the Northwest Pacific, most salmon sharks appear to be concentrated. I love this comment, Roy. Most populations appear to be concentrated south of the salmon's migration path. The migration patterns of the Northwest Pacific populations appear to be linked instead with those of herring and sardines. I suppose we could call it a shark that eats a lot of migrating fish, but the name doesn't roll off the tongue. Porbeagles and salmon sharks are closely related and were once confused as the same species. We now know the ranges do not overlap. Salmon sharks are Pacific and porbeagles are Atlantic. Interesting. Greenland shark and Pacific sleeper shark produce and store high concentrations of a chemical compound, urea, to protect its body from the cold. So this is actually really cool. So urea, which is the thing that makes Greenland shark meat toxic, is apparently the thing that's helping keep it alive. That's actually really cool. Urea, however, can harm the proteins in a shark's body. To stabilize the proteins, these sharks have also evolved to produce high concentrations of another chemical, trimethylamine oxide, or TMAO. This cocktail of chemicals, urea and TMAO, is toxic to humans, but the people of Iceland ferment and dry the Greenland shark's meat for several months to make traditional dishes, including hakkarl. The Greenland shark is an opportunistic feeder, whether scavenging something on the bottom. They've also been observed catching terrestrial animals too close to the edge, including seals, polar bears, and reindeer. These amazing sharks are believed to be some of the oldest living vertebrates, with high estimates saying they can live over 400 years. Less is known about Pacific sleeper shark. I guess this article is really funny. I guess you could say we shark scientists have been sleeping on the job. Oh my gosh. This is interesting. Last but not least on our tour of Arctic sharks are only visitors rather than residents. The blunt-nosed six-gill shark, Hexanchus griseus, so this is the one that's actually pictured on the left, is a 20-foot visitor to the southern edges of the Arctic, but remains in deep water. Along the descent, the temperature of Arctic waters increases, so the bitter cold is much less of an issue for these sharks. Another visitor, spiny dogfish, spends the summer vacations in the Arctic. These sharks venture north in search of seasonal prey during the warmer months. We hope you enjoy this chilly visit of some cool sharks. So, really great article, actually. So this is Florida Museum of Natural History, which is a great first resource for, or a great entry-level resource for any kind of shark facts. So yeah, since it's 10:30, it's a great time to pick next week's shark. So clear for this channel, our guests, sorry, not guests, anybody on the chat, I guess be our guest. Oh my gosh, anybody in the chat can name a shark for next week. And we've covered 140 plus species already, so there's still about 400 left. We've covered all the lambda-forms, so all the mackerel sharks are done, which is really cool. But there's still plenty of dogfish sharks, cat sharks, deep-water cat sharks. We haven't done a deep-water cat shark in a while, actually. So please let me know, guys, in the comments which shark you'd like to cover next week. And I think also we'll wrap up tonight with a review of each of the Arctic sharks we talked about and where you can find them in terms of like diving or snorkeling opportunities. So the website that has all these like really great pictures, I'm going to see if I could just change my view so we could get the whole thing here, because it's just really, there we go, that's better. Excuse me. The website that has all these pictures is sharksandrays.com, which I'm going to post in the chat. This is a shark photography website by Andy Merck, who's an amazing shark photographer, actually arguably the best, one of the best in the world, if not the best. And this website is amazing because, unique amongst any shark website, Andy will have dive notes, so notes on where you can meet some of the sharks that we just talked about today. So we'll start out with the spiny dogfish. So there he is, beautiful shark. Actually, a great photograph of a spiny dogfish. Characteristic spines on the two dorsal fins, the white spots on the flanks. Just like a perfect little shark. So I mean, all sharks are perfect, but amazing little animal. Let's see, spiny dog. Oh, great school of spiny dogfish. Habitat, a temperate water species that lives in the Arctic, found inshore and enclosed bays and estuaries to well offshore along the continental insular shelves, from surface to nearly 2,000 meters. So, very deep water shark. Let's see. Behavior: North American spiny dogfish migrate northward in the summer. They may be solitary, but when a particular food is abundant, they form immense feeding schools. Reaction to divers: shy and difficult to approach, but occasionally makes close passes. become much bolder in baited situations, even wrestling fish from a diver's hand. Sightings in European waters are rare, but it's possible to run into dogfish while wreck diving in New England. When this occurs, the encounters are usually brief and more distant than one would like. Spiny dogfish can easily be baited in by chumming around shallow wrecks and in summer months. I tried chumming on a wreck off of Rhode Island and managed to attract around a dozen sharks. They were initially shy, but soon became very comfortable around our small group, even accepting food by hand. So, really cool, actually, that you can have, you can actually, on the east coast of the United States, you can have a dive experience with a spiny dogfish. Amazing. And these are beautiful photographs, too. Like what a shot of a school of spiny dogfish here. So, oh, thank you, Minjus. I hope you have a great rest of your week and a great night. I'm excited to watch the rest of the stream. Thank you. Really, really appreciate you being here. So thank you. And I'll see you next week for a new shark. So, and again, let me know in the chat, guys, if... now, I'll put a suggestion, too. I think... Let's see if I have a couple... I have a couple in mind. Let's see... specifically, so just in case, I think a demon cat shark might be kind of fun. So this is the genus Aprosteris. I'm just trying to make sure we haven't covered. There's a lot that we have not covered. I just want to make sure we choose one that. Let's see. Ooh, Howard, Little Gulper Shark. That actually is a really good pick. I think that one we should do. Gulper Shark. Centrophorus Uyado. Yes, yes. Okay. Thank you. Little Gulper Shark. Alright, awesome. So next week's shark is the Little Gulper Shark, Centrophorus Uyado. So thank you, Howard. That's a really, really good suggestion. Gulper sharks are... I shouldn't say they're some of the rarest sharks on the planet, but as all of you know, I used to have a jaw set that was the gift that I lost, which is really... And this is when I was really young. But one of the worst things I ever did, shark-wise, because that was one of the rarest sets you could have. And I think that was a leaf scale gulper shark, or the classic gulper shark, so it could have been Centrophorus niacong. But Centrophorus Uyado, Uyado, we have not covered before, so I'm really excited to do that, because gulper sharks are a really, really cool deep water group of sharks. And their scales are really cool, where they're like this like really dark black-brown color with these like little white spots. It's a really beautiful animal, actually. Described gulper shark skin as to a colleague as kind of like a star field. It's like, you know, kind of romantic description, but they're really beautiful animals. So, but yeah, that's a great pick. So that will be next week's shark. And what's kind of funny, gulper sharks are cousins of dogfish. They are in the same order, lambdiforms, and they're actually relatively the same size too. So that's a great picture of a diver with a spiny dogfish right here. So just kind of checking it out as it's cruising the seabed. So very cool. Similar species is the Northern Pacific spiny dogfish. So I do want to take a quick look at this as far as where you can dive with this species. Let's see. Somewhat shy and difficult to approach, but may make close passes a curious. Northern Pacific spiny dogfish are extremely bold in baited situations, even wrestling for fish directed from divers' hands. During the summer and fall, it's not unusual to see northern Pacific spiny dogfish on rocky reefs around Vancouver Island. Historically, the best place to see them was at Quadra Island, where a fishing processing plant would pump waste into the bay. This practice has been banned, so dogfish numbers have diminished, but a remnant population could be still found in that area. So, very beautiful shark. It looks similar to the spiny dogfish, but the snout looks a bit bigger. I could actually kind of see a little bit of a difference. So, really cool. Alright, so we got dogfish as a dive prospect. What about Greenland sharks? Where can you find Greenland sharks? Great photo, very eerie shot of a Greenland shark here. Habitat of boreal, cold-temperate species, usually found in deep water on the continental shelf and slope, but occasionally enters shallow bays. From surface to 2,647 meters, so very, very deep. A very slow swimmer that is probably capable of short bursts of speed when hunting fast-moving prey such as pinnipeds and squid. Greenland sharks are easily approached. They usually either tolerate or completely ignore divers, but if disturbed, they generally speed up and quickly outpace divers, sometimes quite curious, making multiple passes before moving on. From around 2005 until 2010, Greenland sharks started showing up each summer in shallow bays a few kilometers east of Baie-Comeau in the north bank of the St. Lawrence estuary in Quebec, Canada. No one was able to ascertain why the sharks visited the area. Jose Castro has suggested that they swim into the brackish bay to kill and shed the parasites that cover their eyes. Although that's actually really cool if that's true. That's kind of amazing. That's almost that's ingenious if they do that. Although a few of the sharks that were seen there had parasites, they were mostly juveniles, which could also explain their lack of parasites. I suspect that there may have been a whale carcass or other attractant on the seabed nearby that eventually stopped sending out scent. Whatever the reason, they have not returned. There are no other spots where divers encounter Greenland sharks, but they are known to congregate around Sable Island off the coast of Nova Scotia when the seals are there. This is not an area many divers are able to visit, but it may be a good place to try if you have access to a boat. Some divers at Baie-Comeau, I apologize if I'm not saying this correctly, felt that making noise, for example baiting their tanks with a metal bar, resulted in Greenland sharks coming in to investigate the noise. I didn't find this help very much at British Columbia, but it was worth a try. Chumming may also be effective, but it did not... Oh, sorry, not British Columbia, Baie-Comeau. Chumming may also be effective, but it did not work in Baie-Comeau. So, beautiful shark. Yeah, I don't know if I would want to attract a Greenland shark. That's a little freaky. So, Pacific sleeper shark. Let's see how you dive with this. So, a slow swimmer that's probably capable of short bursts of speed when hunting fast-moving prey such as pinnipeds and squid. The lack of records of large, gravid females suggests that Pacific sleeper sharks may segregate by sex or size. So this is something that dogfish do as well. Pacific sleeper sharks are rarely, if ever, encountered by divers. However, captured animals that were released in shallow water were approachable until they outpaced observers. There are no areas where Pacific sleeper sharks are encountered by divers, but they are relatively abundant from southeast Alaska to Washington. Therefore, it may be possible to bring them in by baiting on the substrate close to recreational dive limits. Interesting. And someone got these images. Andy got these images, which is pretty incredible that they were able to get a Pacific sleeper shark. That's truly unbelievable. That's a great picture, by the way. A few more sharks, and then I think we'll call it a night, because we all want to know how you dive with a porbeagle. So here we go. How can you dive with a porbeagle? Behavior, migratory. In the North Atlantic, porbeagles move inshore and northward during the summer. Reaction to divers, extremely shy. Difficult to approach on scuba or snorkel unless fixated on bait. The porbeagle is a difficult shark to swim with, but there is a hotspot for the species off the coast of Brittany. Porbeagles are not seen on reef dives, but they can be encountered in open water when chum is utilized. Big Fish Expeditions runs dedicated porbeagle diving trips each summer in northern France. Blue shark chiming trips off the southwest coast of the UK occasionally attract porbeagle sharks, but encounters in the UK are rare. I've also photographed porbeagles in the Bay of Fundy in Canada while accompanying researchers for the University of New Brunswick. They also show up off the coast of Newfoundland, but at present there are no dive operators offering trips in North America. So it's actually really cool that you can see this, but this is extremely rare. Or not rare, but difficult. This is a very shy shark. So, yeah, that's really cool. That's actually extremely cool. These are great images, by the way. I don't think we saw these in detail. Beautiful shot in like this icy blue water. It's so cool. Oh, I guess we did see these shots, but still, they're completely stunning. Salmon shark. So award-winning sharks. Yeah, 100%. No, I mean, like, there's just something so cool about porbeagles and salmon sharks. Just oh, that's actually really cool. Salmon shark habitat in cold, temperate, and subtropical oceanic and inshore environments, found in 2 degrees to 24 degrees Celsius water, but prefers water between 8 to 16 degrees Celsius. That's incredible. Nearly freezing. It's unbelievable. In North America, salmon sharks move into fjords from June to September and feed on spawning salmon, returning offshore in the winter. In the Northwest Pacific, salmon sharks migrate south from the Kuril Islands of Japan to Japan in the winter. In Prince William Sound, salmon sharks are frequently seen during the summer, slowly swimming in large circles at or near the surface with tops or dorsal fins exposed. The purpose of this behavior is unclear, but it may be related to hunting for salmon. Reaction to divers: extremely shy, difficult to approach on scuba or snorkel until fixated on a trawl bait, at which point the salmon shark becomes much bolder, making very close passes in its pursuit of the bait. The Gulf of Alaska is the only area where salmon sharks can be reliably encountered. Between June and August, salmon sharks congregate in one spot dubbed Shark Alley in Port Fidalgo. At this spot, snorkelers can observe the sharks lazily swimming in circles at the surface. That's so cool! Sometimes they're too shy to approach, but the bolder ones will approach small boats if a shark wrangler attracts with a small fish tied to a fishing line without a hook. Once the shark takes interest, the snorkelers slip into the water but remain next to the skiff to avoid spooking the sharks as it approaches. Big Fish Expeditions runs a salmon shark snorkeling expedition each June and July. This is so cool. Oh my gosh. Again, beautiful shots of a salmon shark. This one's probably my favorite. This one's just like incredible right here. Great shots in just extremely cold water. Oh my gosh. Like our current weather, yeah. Basking shark. How did I get out of here? I think I somehow accidentally kind of screwed up the... I guess I'll just I'll re-click it. Okay, there we go. Basking shark. So last but not least, this is a very fun one as far as encountering. Here we go. Or encounters go. Basking shark. Oh my gosh, incredible shot of a basking shark in this like really cool cold water. Habitat: cold to warm temperate seas, usually seen from close inshore to the edge of the continental shelf, but known to migrate at great depth across oceans. Surface to at least 1,264 meters. Basking sharks are known to undergo vast oceanic migrations. During the summer months, they are often seen close to the coast, probably feeding on shallow plankton blooms that are created by the summer sun. Easily approached when encountered by snorkelers at the surface. Basking sharks probably avoid the noise associated with scuba. When directly approached by swimmers, basket sharks generally change direction but do not bolt. Up until the 1950s, basket sharks were abundant off the south coast of the UK and west coast of Scotland. After decades of overfishing, their numbers have been severely reduced, and sightings are now unpredictable at best. The most reliable place to find basket sharks is around the small isles of Cole and Tiree in the Inner Hebrides on the western coast of Scotland. Sightings are possible from June through August, but the most reliable time seems to be mid-July. Operators in Mull and Oban offer single and multi-day trips. Sightings are far from guaranteed. On the south coast of Cornwall, basket sharks are even more unpredictable, but they generally appear earlier in the summer than they do in Scotland. This makes sense as the water in the south warms sooner and brings more plankton for the sharks. Southern Island and Isle of Man are also historical spots where basket sharks can be seen. In the northwest Atlantic, sightings of basket sharks off Massachusetts and elsewhere in New England seem to be increasing each year. Hopefully this implies an increase in overall numbers. That's personally really exciting because basket sharks do come down here in Virginia in the winter. Really rare. I mean, extremely rare. It's not... actually, Rudy Tours out of Virginia Beach did see one last year, which is so cool. So it's rare, but not impossible for them to be down here. So in the Eastern Pacific, random sightings still occur, but basking sharks numbers in the Pacific are significantly less common. What a great shot, just of a basket shark partially opening its mouth. The scale of these animals is amazing, where they actually can leap out of the water too. So just like great white sharks, they can breach, which is pretty incredible to think about. So. Oh, and speaking similar species listed right here, great white, or white shark. White shark is the classic scientific name for that species, but. I think before we wrap up, we should probably talk about conservation for each of... we won't go into detail, but we should talk about conservation for each shark, where spiny dogfish are currently vulnerable. The Greenland shark is currently vulnerable as well. So vulnerable is not the worst status, it's not the best. The Pacific sleeper shark is nearly threatened, so that's actually better. It means it's currently okay, but there's parts of its life history that get a little bit closer to the danger zone. The porbeagle is vulnerable. The salmon shark seems to be faring the best. It is least concern, so it's really nice to see that salmon sharks are least concern. And then the basking shark, unfortunately, is endangered. But populations, there's so much conservation focus on the species that I feel like it's going to be okay in the long run. So I think what we'll do to wrap up this episode of Arctic Sharks, and I really enjoyed doing this special. This was a really fun tour of cold water, like extremely cold water species. So we'll take a look at the basket sharks conservation in detail, and then the salmon sharks conservation in detail. So the worst on the list and the best on the list. So sharks should rely on living in the cold. Humans usually never like the cold. That is true. That is... yeah, that is true. Like the reason I'm laughing is there are people in my life who get especially cold, and yes, this is true. So, because I'm kind of funny where I have a high cold tolerance. That I don't know why that is, but I like, I do. Oh, thank you, Howard. I really appreciate that. Thank you. This was a really fun stream to kick off the year, where we have a lot of our, we have some new friends, and a lot of our dear friends who've been here since literally the beginning of the channel, or not the beginning of the channel, but the beginning of this series. It's so cool to gather with everybody tonight. So thank you, and thank you for being here. So. This is a particularly fun episode, and I'm excited to. We'll wrap up with conservation notes for the two species, basket shark and salmon shark, just because they're the poles, like the polar ends of the worst conservation status and the best conservation status, or second to worst conservation status. But for basking sharks, what makes them endangered Basket shark is a very large, highly migratory, filter-feeding shark distributed mainly in the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans in coastal and pelagic habitats from the surface to 1,264 meters. It occurs near the surface in temperate waters and deeper below the thermocline, so it's cool to see that it's a very cold-tolerant species in tropical waters. The species has low biological productivity and limited fecundity and late age of maturity. Although no longer targeted, it is still caught as bycatch in trawl, tramble nets, and set net fisheries and becomes entangled in pot lines. The large fins are extremely valuable in the fin trade. Across regions, there have been some severe historic declines, however, there are indications of some stability and possible slow recovery since cessation of target fishing and high levels of protection. And I'm going to repeat, high levels of protection. So basket shark, fortunately, is a poster child of shark conservation. It is a very charismatic conservation shark species. The global population may now be beginning to stabilize, with signs of that from the northeast Atlantic, although elsewhere there's little information upon which to assess its stability. However, abundances are still estimates to be well below historic levels, and there's ongoing demand for the high-valued fins, and a global population reduction of 50 to 79% is suspected of the past 3 generations. Therefore, the basket shark is assessed as endangered. On the flip side, for the salmon shark, this is a least concerned species, and we have to ask, why is this least concern? The salmon shark is a large pelagic shark that occurs only in the North and Central Pacific, where it's wide-ranging in subarctic and temperate nearshore and oceanic waters to depths of 1864 meters. This species has low biological productivity with small litters in a biennial reproductive cycle. It is caught as target and bycatch in coastal and pelagic commercial and small-scale longline, purse seine, and gillnet fisheries, and is often retained for its meat as well as fins. The population appeared to be stable at relatively high levels of abundance during the 1990s and early 2000s. Since cessation of an open ocean gillnet fishery in the early 1990s, the population may be rebuilding. There is no information available on population trends since that time, except an anecdotal note by recreational fishers of a decline in the catch of Prince William Sound, Alaska, that resulted in the self-imposed avoidance of the species. Other than this noted decline in Alaska, there's nothing to infer a population decline, and thus the species assesses least concern. Improved catch monitoring, analysis of population trend analysis, and precautionary fishing limits are recommended. So it's really cool that as far as the Arctic sharks go, they do run a gamut of endangered to least concern. The largest, or one of the second largest filter feeding, second largest sharks in the world that feeds almost exclusively on plankton versus pretty efficient predators and scavengers like the Greenland shark and the salmon sharks and porbeagles. So it's a really cool collection of superlative sharks that really outcompete other species who can't go into this area because it's just like their metabolism doesn't work here. And it's actually really cool to see that the sleeper sharks have a chemical reason why they can enter into Arctic waters, whereas the mackerel sharks have more of a physiological reason where they're able to raise their body temperature to cope with the cold. So it's really incredible overall. So, but and again, glad to see that. I know there's a lot of work that we need to do as far as shark conservation, but it's really encouraging to see that there are shark species that are doing well, and it's 2026, and there's still least concerned species around the world, like the salmon shark. So, but guys, thank you so much for watching. This was a really fun stream. I was about to say it was a really cool stream, but that's pun not intended. But it was really fun to tour the Arctic sharks and take a look at them and kind of see more about their biology and more about the Arctic system in general, because it's not a system I'm very familiar with. I'm as you know, I'm a temperate person, a temperate water person, but this was a really, really cool tour. So hope you guys all have a great week, and I'm so excited to cover next week's Gulper Shark with you and to rock 2026. So until then, take care and have a good one, guys. Have a good night. And I will see you soon, or next week specifically, for the Gulper Shark. But cheers. Have a good one.